Hi, it's Chris from Redshift. I want to do a quick video about camber bolts. Camber bolt is a bolt that has the ability to create camber. And it's a little bit complicated because when you install it on the car, it's not obvious exactly what the setting should be. But what I wanted to say, and this is really the most important thing, is with these bolts, there are three pieces. And the three pieces are the bolt, the nut that goes on the end, and then there's this funky washer. Okay, this washer is important. And what you want to do is you want to install this so that the washer is next to the head of the bolt and the nut is on, so it's installed in the strut assembly like it is here. Okay, and what is important to know is that the washer, with this little tag on the washer here, if you can see that little tag there, this tag, as you rotate the washer, affects how the strut sits. The bottom of the strut goes back and forth. As you spin this around, it actually moves the strut in and out. Also, when you turn the bolt, because of this cam is sitting inside the upright, or the knuckle, and the knuckle is holding essentially the wheel. So as you turn this, it's affecting the knuckle in and out, and as you turn the washer, it's affecting the strut in and out. And so the best way to do this, and the best way to explain it, is that when you first turn the washer, put it on the car loosely. So you install everything, don't torque it down, because this washer has little cleats in the bottom of it. So if you torque it down, you can't spin it. So just barely have it together so you can still spin the thing. And you take it, and sometimes you got to hammer on this little piece here. Don't hammer hard, obviously, but so that you can get this to move around. And you'll see as you move it around on the car, it will camber the car in and out. Once you get it, especially if you're trying to go max negative camber, or that's really the reason why most people use these, set this so that you get maximum negative camber out of it. And secondly, then take a hex wrench or wrench of some sort, and making sure that the washer doesn't move, because you've got that to max camber. Next, start to spin the bolt, and as you spin the bolt, it will take the wheel further into camber. And so the idea being, as you spin this, you can get to another full camber. But frankly, a lot of times you don't want to go full camber. You might want to go 1 degree instead of 1 1/4 or 1 1/2, whatever full camber is on your car. And so this is the bolt is the fine tuning of that. So when everything is on the car, once you've tightened it together, and you can imagine then taking it to the alignment shop and say, please fine tune it. They're not going to mess with the washer. It's going to be cleated in place. But all they're going to do is spin the head of the bolt and fine tune that. And as you can see, this little tag for the washer, if it's sitting on the same side as the bolt, you will have no difference. It will be essentially the same for the upright and for the strut. It's only when these are offset that you have a big difference. So this is like a stock bolt, essentially. Stock 14mm bolt on a 2006 Civic, for example. There's no difference. That's 14mm. What's different is that when they're offset from one another, that makes a big difference. So anyway, again, set the washer first when everything is just hand tight, and not even hand tight, just finger tight on. I mean, you can't finger tight this because it's a special kind of nut, but don't torque it in place. You got to have everything kind of together so that this thing actually does something, and then do the bolt, and you can get best camber. And then finally, and I shouldn't go on too long, because now the most important point of this is you have to make absolutely sure that when you bolt this together, when you do your final tightening of this, that you torque this bolt. Do not torque it to the Honda factory specs. If you torque it to the Honda factory specs, you will stretch it and you can break it, and that's a potentially dangerous situation. This bolt in these kits is there's standard instructions, and it tells you what the torque value is. So this is a 14 millimeter camber bolt. That's part number 81260. This is 77 foot-pounds. This torque spec. Go to 77 foot-pounds and don't go at all over 77 foot-pounds. If you're using an 81280 bolt, like on an RSX or a 2012 Civic Si, the spec is 125 foot-pounds. Now this is a Ingalls. Getting old. Yeah, this is an Ingalls bolt. SPC makes them. SPC makes them for Eibach. But make sure that you always use the directions and use the torque for the bolt. Very important. And the reason is because when you torque a bolt, when you torque it, you're actually stretching the bolt like a rubber band. A lot of people probably don't know how this works. But a rubber band, if you stretch it apart, will have a clamping action to it, right? It'll have like a clamping force. Bolts are the same way. Every bolt is exactly the same way. It has a elastic effect. So if you tighten it, you're actually stretching the bolt. If you overstretch it, you ruin it. If you can imagine, if you overstretch, what would be a good example? The things that you can overstretch where they no longer return back to the length they were. You can overstretch them and you end up deforming the bolt rather than just creating this clamping force. So that's why the torque spec is so important on these. Go to the torque spec, you'll get that elastic deformation of it so that it's actually still clamping in place, and don't go 1 foot-pound over. All right. Hopefully that helped. And as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us by email or phone, and we'll get right back to you. Okay? Thanks.